Hi, this is Kevin Eastman, co-creator of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and you're listening to me on another Geek Fried podcast. Why? Yeah!
Thank you very much.
Coming to some ears near you. In a world so like this one, you couldn't tell the difference. Geeks and fanatics engage in eternal war for the perfect film pitch. Judged by their peers, and against all odds they cry, pitch, please.
And then 3, it's cough. So 3, 2, 1.
Perfect.
Well, it kind of ruins it if you don't start
comment on the
talking
cough.
after
Really
the cough.
throwing me off my game with the whole cough clap. Ladies and
Cough
gentlemen, welcome to Pitch Please, Geek Pride's premier podcast in which we assemble the same 3 people week in, week out, and
Premier
ask
podcast.
them to pitch a hypothetical media project of various kinds, mostly movies.
I'm going to just say, this is the weakest opening of any of our...
Yeah,
I was thrown off my-
hypothetical media project sounds like marketing jargon.
It is, it's like...
So moving forward, guys, next time we work on the HMP, if we can all meet at close of play on Friday and we'll just cross-pitch our ideas. Is that all right?
Is everyone need to diversify here?
Is everyone okay with that? Karen, is that all right? Yeah. No, I know you've got your kids. Thing, but just close of play Friday. Just last thing, yeah. Just moving forward, if we can just
like
really,
and Stacey scene.
if we can really synergize some great ideas here. We've got a lot up on the board, but we really need to bring them to market. Yeah. All right, great stuff, guys. Great stuff.
So heading up Synergy today, we've got Mr. Mike Orvis.
It is me, the Lord of Synergy.
I've just finished playing some Dark Souls, so I'm a bit hype.
And Decoding the
warn you.
Future, as my company actually insists is our mission, is Ben Fee.
Hello. Don't Google that.
I think he's
whole
too busy
thing.
encoding the future with his DNA.
Ooh.
Scrim.
Ben has a lot of kids.
Yes, I'm not just jizzing on stuff. That's actually a reference to my children.
Why can't it be both?
Oh,
Yeah.
jeez.
You fucking meanie.
Anyway, today I should probably introduce myself. I'm your host, Callum, and today I'll be asking these 2 fine gentlemen to pitch me on turning the world and mythos of Lovecraft into a movie.
Fuck, I've
guess
just
they
had the
could do-
best idea.
They could do with something that's not a movie, I guess. I'm not gonna
No, it just...
run your life like that.
You know, like, I spent half a day prepping this thing that I'm going to pitch, and then I've just thought, fuck, I should have turned it into a kids show. Bollocks.
Cthulhu and Friends.
Ah, mate.
Do
like
it.
That, like the have you guys seen the Saturday morning cartoon Watchmen? It's like a fake thing put out by I think it was the acronym's ADHD animation or something like that, but it's like, it's the Watchman, Rorschach, he's friend of the animals, and it's like him with the 2 dogs that he saves their lives and stuff. Anyway, if you've not seen it, I highly recommend it. Just type in Saturday Morning Watchmen. Sorry, Callum, carry on.
Anyway, pitching a film or something or some other adaptation of the Lovecraft world or mythos, and I believe Mike's terrified to go first, so Ben, why don't you kick us off?
Right. Yeah. Okay. I am a big fan of the H.P. Lovecraft stuff. I've read a whole bunch of it, and that's why it's quite hard to do a pitch, because it's hella racist. Like, super racist. Like, most of his stories...
But I've really jumped in with both feet, and
I'm very, very true to the source material.
I'll be using the pseudonym of Grand Dragon Fee.
Yeah, a lot of his horror comes from the fear of non-white people, like Southeast Asia and Africa and places like that, places where civilized white folk wouldn't really head off to. So my idea for a H.P. Lovecraft themed thing would be an anthology, a TV show, an anthology of stories, very much in the vein of the Twilight Zone. Instead of Rod Serling introducing, we would have the man himself, H.P. Lovecraft.
There's a small problem with that, Ben.
I'm not following you. I think he'd be absolutely fine. I think he'd be up for it. I think he'd be ready to do this kind of thing. It's been a long time since we've heard from him, so I reckon it's about time he sort of got himself out there and did a bit of TV work. Or, or we could have an actor play him as he's dead. That's also plan B, I guess. That'd be the framing mechanism for every show.
Can't we have a puppet?
A H.P. Lovecraft puppet. Oh shit! I wish I'd thought of that earlier. That was fantastic.
Right, see, how good would a kids show be? Sesame Street, but with the fucking Lovecraft mythos. I'm so annoyed that I didn't fucking do that.
Well, you've got like half an hour now while I pitch to, sort of, to work it out.
You just hear me like,
Let's fucking crack on, man.
you're right, Mike. You listening? Yeah. Monsters,
Just
fishmen. Is he talking about fish? Oh, I won't be. I'm a good boy. I'm going to stick with my pitch. I really like. What was that? And shut up, Mike. Go. Ben.
Yeah, fucking shut up, Mike. So yeah, it's going to be an anthology series. Each episode's going to be framed by Howard Lovecraft introducing the story. Obviously, it's not him. It's going to be an actor. Hopefully, someone like Ezra Miller as his sort
We
of...
fucking love Ezra Miller in this podcast.
He's our guy. I really do like the guy. He's fantastic. Like,
Even when it's not Ezra Miller and it's Ezra Bridger, we love Ezra Miller.
Star Wars. Yeah, it'll be him in kind of like his persona from Fantastic Beasts, that kind of gaunt, pale, very awkward kind of guy. He'll feel as though he's been sort of like forced to go in front of the camera and introduce the story, and that in itself will have a bit of an arc to it. As the series goes on, these framing devices will get a bit weirder as there's sort of dark shadows in the background of the device, or people looking at him that weren't there before from somewhere else. And each time he appears, it'll be related to the story. It'll be on set there, a bit like in Lemony Snicket. If you ever watched the Netflix version of that, it had the author, Lemony Snicket, introducing the episode, and he would be standing in a burnt house or somewhere related to the story. It'd be like that. So in Mountains of Madness, he'd be standing in the Arctic. He'd be there in the snowstorm around him. He'd be standing there completely unfazed by it, just a bit concerned about something else that's maybe off screen. The stories themselves, so it would be based on Lovecraft stories, as well as stories by other writers who've written for the Lovecraft mythos, and like Sandy Peterson's Call of Cthulhu roleplay game, the adventures that went for that. There's so many stories out there, it's absolutely fantastic. But the stories themselves will be modernised, they'll all be set in the modern day, and they'll be updated to remove any kind of lingering sexism or racism. It's kind of going to be washing the stories in a way for modern audiences, keeping what's interesting and fun and scary about these stories, and
but not racist,
and just getting rid of all the awful racism that is. If you even can do that, keep it real, man. Sell out.
I want a centrist version of Lovecraft, please, where we can say what we like. It doesn't offend anyone.
You're such a cuck, Ben.
But have you actually read some of the stuff? It's
more like Cuckcraft.
Oh, Love Cuck. That sounds like something else.
That was Kiss's worst song.
Blurg. That's pretty much going to be the show. What I'll do, I'll go through a sort of handful of episodes and sort of give you an idea of how that'll progress or how that'll be. For example, there's a story by Lovecraft called The Dunwich Horror, in which a devil boy, essentially, and his sorcerer grandfather try and call forth a being from the outer dark into a small town called Dunwich. In the original story, it's a lot of like there's history professors involved, and it's quite a good versus evil kind of story where this huge creature bursts out of a barn and destroys a town, and it can be very easily updated to include sort of more likeable heroes, having a sort of a modern day professor in a college, and the college is broken into at night by this deformed man or deformed boy who's ripped apart by the dogs, and when it's after it dies, and they realise he's been after this book called the Necronomicon, and they trace him back to his home in this little small farming town, and in this barn they've been feeding a demonic entity. And now that the boy is gone and can't feed it anymore, it escapes and starts to trash the town, and these men have to try and stop it. I'd really change the focus of the fear from, obviously, non-whites, and turn that inward into Middle America, into the alt-right, into the white supremacists, the small town, narrow-minded
Oh my god!
kind of people, and
So many cucks behind this show.
and really make them the terror. Let me think of another one. There was a good one I thought of. Shadow over Innsmouth would be a good one to update.
Yeah, buddy.
That's a fantastic story. In the remake, it would be a case of a. It feels a bit X-Filesy, to be honest. The whole premise, because every week there'd be an investigator of sorts into the occult or into some weird things, going somewhere and discovering something awful. I'll do 2 more, and then that'll probably be enough of an idea as to sort of my premise here.
Cool.
So the episode Shadow over Innsmouth, it would start off with H.P. Lovecraft, the man himself, standing on a beach, and the waves are just crashing over him, just completely drenching him, and he's just talking through just ignoring the waves completely, just talking through the spume. Spume.
Jesus.
To introduce the episode, talking about things that live below the waves, and the promise of eternal life. And on the last crash of the wave, there's something standing behind him. There wasn't anything there before, but on the last crash of the wave, it crashes down. There's something, and then it flicks away to the TV show instantly, so we don't see anything else. And it's about a FBI agent who's been sent to a small town, Innsmouth, in fact, to investigate some missing children, some missing people. And when he gets there, he finds that the people there are strange looking. They've got large eyes and quite thick lips. They seem quite fish-like in there.
Oh, is this in Wales?
Hey, take that, all of Wales. Yeah, solid burn, Mike.
Thank you. As you were.
Yeah. So yeah, he finds these people a bit weird, and he talks to one guy who tells him all about a sea captain who came over from far away and who settled the town of Innsmouth. And every sort of month or full moon, or every now and again, strange beings emerge from the sea when the tide is right. The strange beings emerge from the sea called the Deep Ones, and they bring bounties of fish and little gold trinkets to those who will sacrifice humans to them. And they when they're here, they mate with the populace and create strange fish people who, when they get older, when they're born, they look normal, but as they get older, they become more and more fish-like, and then go to live under the waves with them, for eternal life. And the FBI agent just completely dismisses this, doesn't believe it at all. I think it's just a fairy tale. But as he's talking to this guy, that the waves start to rise, and the old guy notices that this and gets very scared and tells him to run. You've been seen, he says. And so the FBI agent tries to leave, but his car breaks down, and he has to spend a night in a motel nearby. But as he's in the night, the door starts to shake as though someone is trying to get in. So terrified, he jumps out the back window, terrified that these things have come after him. And he runs through the town, and it's the whole kind of horror tropes. He feels as though he's being chased by something, but he can't see what it is. We get like glimpses of strange creatures in the bushes and that kind of thing. And the next morning, he wakes up in a bush, completely unharmed, and starts to go home. Completely like just, whoa, that must have been a strange night, very overactive imagination I must have. When he gets home, he does a bit of digging and finds out that he was related to the old sea captain who founded the town. And he notices he's starting to develop these strange, fishy appendages and wider eyes. And he finds out that as sort of the story progresses, he becomes more accepting of the idea, and then goes back to the town and walks into the waves to join the deep ones and live underwater for eternity. So it's that kind of thing. That kind of like light, just sort of easy watching.
Kind of very frothy, you know, you don't really need to pay attention. You put it on in the background when you do your ironing.
Yeah. Aye. There was another one that I was reading and I thought would make a good, interesting story. But it's fucking weird, though. In fact, now I'm actually thinking about it, it's really weird. It's called Dreams in the Witch House.
Mm-hmm.
Which involves a young student, a young maths student, who's into quantum physics and non-Euclidean geometry. So yes, he's a maths student. Fishy? No, I was way past that. So this guy's a math student. It needs to have more of a story to it. At the minute, I'm just sort of reciting pretty much just the exact story. It needs to have it'll have a lot more of a three-act arc to each of the episodes.
You'll make it more modern, this mathematician's got a calculator.
And he says things like radical and wizard,
and at one point he'll like be doing some sums on the calculator, and then the answer will be 58,008, and then the camera will pan around him looking just so that you can see the word boobs.
Yes,
cool.
Sounds legit.
Exactly.
Cool.
But the story will revolve around this witch house, this famously haunted house in a town called Arkham. And it'll be the house where a very famous female mathematician lived. And it said that she went mad. She discovered a new form of maths and went mad.
Is that Jenny Numbers?
So he's really...
Jenny
What?
Numbers. Is that Jenny Numbers, the famous female mathematician?
Jenny Numbers. Jenny Numbers. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. I think. Are you poking fun that I had to qualify her as female?
Well, a bit.
Okay, she's a mathematician, and that's a genderless pronoun.
Thank you.
No, but you said she.
Gender silent.
Oh, fuck off, Callum.
Yeah.
I was taking a piss.
They
don't ruin
are
it.
a
Fuck
mathematician.
yourself.
He tells all about it, but she's like, you need to leave, you need to get out of there. You're obviously having some problems in that house. Maybe the stress of your upcoming lecture or dissertation is taking its toll on you. But he's like, no, I need to get to the bottom of this. I need to find out what's happening. The next night, he dreams that he meets the mathematician, and she has a little pet rat with her. But the rat has a strangely humanoid face.
What?
Little instead of the long pointy snout, it's got a short nose, a little humanoid mouth, and very little keen intelligent eyes.
Can he be voiced by Maurice LaMarche, please?
who's the guy with the voice?
The voice of Pinky.
Oh God, Gilbert.
Gilbert
What's the name
Gottfried.
of that guy? Gilbert Gottfried. Hi, hello, it's me, Gilbert Gottfried.
Oh my God! It's
that's how
me,
the voice
the
part.
rat.
Hello, America. And in his dream, he takes part in a kidnapping. She shows him a portal, and she pulls this child through the portal. They go through the portal, and they're outside the little girl's house, and they're walking through the mud outside, and she uses her magic. Well, she uses some kind of magic to get her to pull her away from her bed. And in the morning, he wakes up and he finds his boots are covered in mud, and he sees on the news that a girl's been kidnapped. So he's getting very, very, very agitated by this now.
Did you say he's
It's like,
spooked?
oh shit, okay, he's fucking spooked. Yeah, it's gone from just experimentation and strange new experiences to someone's now in danger. So he tries to find around town for any kind of clues as to where she could have gone to, what could have happened to her, but he finds nothing. So he goes to bed thinking, okay, this night I'm going to find out what's happened. So he goes to sleep that night. And in the dream, he finds himself with the mathematician lady and her little rat, whose name is Brown Jenkins. Yeah, that's the name of the rat. It's called Brown Jenkins. And the rat's like, welcome back to the dream world, kid. and then the kid is the girl that they kidnapped is in this strange like pentagram-esque area, and the woman's like, we have to sacrifice this child, we have to kill it. But the guy's like, no, you aren't going to kill it, blah blah blah, and he manages to sort of strangle the mathematician lady, but the rat bites him on the chest. Little Brown Jenkins bites him on the chest, but he whacks him away. Then he wakes up, and they find the child has been found alive and fine. So he thinks, oh, thank goodness for that. So he leaves and goes back home again to his girlfriend, and vows never to go back there. But then that evening he's sleeping, and his girlfriend hears him screaming. She goes into the room, and she sees his chest start to get all bloody.
He sleeps in a separate room from his girlfriend.
She's downstairs, I don't know, playing Gears of War. So anyway, because it's modern day.
When is
she's playing Gears?
Is
she's
it
playing
though?
Gears of War 1 on an Xbox.
Listening to Nickelback.
Listening to Nickelback. And so yeah, she goes upstairs, and he's there screaming in his bed, and his chest starts to get all bloody, and from his chest rips Brown Jenkins and screams at her and runs off into the night, and that's the end of the episode. And then we hear the theme music, which
Reader
is
beware, you're in for a scare. And it's just
Never made it as a poor man stealing.
I thought it was going to be the just the theme from Goosebumps, just straight ripped.
No, just pitch shift it, Mike. Just slightly change the key.
Reader beware, you're in for a scare.
I suppose it is kind of like just Goosebumps, but for a more mature audience, which I guess, thinking about it now, is Tales from the Crypt Keeper.
Yeah,
that's pretty much what that was.
yeah.
So it's very similar. It's like one of those kind of shows. Yeah, it's an anthology horror show.
Yeah.
And every episode would be a different thing, but it'd have some characters from one episode would appear in other episodes. It would have that kind of loose connection.
Yeah.
Like a main character in one, if it doesn't die or go mad, would appear as a background character in another one, and it'd have that loose thread throughout.
Cool.
That's pretty much it.
All right.
That's pretty much
Nice.
me.
Nice.
It's just who you are. It's how we do.
Cool.
Michael,
Okay.
give me your
Yeah. So
Muppets Go Wild,
okay. So
whatever it is.
So Lovecraft is hard because there's a lot of love stuff. Like, let's ignore the racism for a second, but there's a lot of Lovecraft stuff that, like, out of context, without the audience at the time, unless you're understanding the conventions of Lovecraft, it's not sort of necessarily scary. So, like the thing that should not be, like, you think that's going to be terrifying. It's about this dude, and he goes to a graveyard, and he goes down, and then his mate goes down into this grave, and then the dude disappears, and he's like, what's going on? And then a voice like just comes up and is like, "Fool, he's already dead," and that's the story. And you're like, oh, all right, okay. I mean, and there's a lot of if you read the Necronomicon, which is like the collection of most of his stories. There's like the Necronomicon, then there's like a further collection of stories. Then there's a lot of that where it's like all this really creepy shit happens, and then the reveal is he turned around and there was no one. And you're like, all right, okay,
All right,
sure,
all right, Howard.
it's spooky. Yeah, no, mate, I'm well spooked. Fucking spookerific. So what I've done is I thought about, and I mean we did this a little bit with, well, I didn't do it with Star Wars, but I've done this with films before. I've thought about what would be the most commercially viable, and I've stuck to something that I know. So
Teen drama?
no, yeah, watch all them. So this is the OC. No, so you're gonna have to please bear with me. Please don't try to shut this down before I like you'll start to get it. I hope. I've written a sequel to the 2014 Godzilla film.
Okay, I think I can see where this goes, but
Yeah. So it will be called Godzilla brackets Necronomicon or something like that, or Godzilla Eldritch Tides. Actually, that's well better.
Godzilla v Kong v Cthulhu.
No, okay, no, actually, it would. No, I'll tell you exactly what it would be called. It would be called Godzilla, brackets, or not brackets, Eldritch Tides. That's what it would be called. Well done, me. So, your opening scene, it's San Francisco, and it's completely abandoned, and it looks like it's been abandoned for years, because there's all this like plant life growing on the buildings. Now, most of the plants look like your average vines and shit. It's like, imagine the scene like, like poison ivy's taken over a fucking town or whatever. But this is San Francisco. But there's like no one in sight. And there's like these things giving off spores. But also there are like these other plants. And these plants are like pearlescent, and they're black, but also they're purple. They keep sort of changing colour, almost like have you seen it when a cuttlefish gets pissed off?
Yeah.
So they go black, and then they go like blue, and then they go purple, that sort of thing. It keeps kind of like flashing these dark myriad colours of like. And it's weird. It's like this pearlescent sort of thing, and some of these plants are there as well, and they're giving out. Sorry, I hit my microphone and he fell over. And they're like giving out this stuff out, and you're watching these scenes and these abandoned streets, and there's lots of shots of here, and then suddenly you see the foot of Godzilla, in the clearing, and then it pans out, and Godzilla is. It's like he's stalking. He's walking through the streets of San Francisco, but you can see that Godzilla's trying not to fuck up any of the buildings if he can help it. Now, I don't mean he's like pussyfooting around, because obviously he's Godzilla. Like, cars are still getting blown up and fucking street lamps and stuff, but like major buildings, he's not like purposefully running through major buildings and things like that. Does that make sense? Yeah,
yes.
Cool.
Yeah.
And then you see what he's turning to face, because you hear like this noise, and I can't describe this noise, but it's the noise of what it is. If you're a diehard Godzilla fan, it'll be the noise of what it is, and I didn't bring it up on YouTube because I forgot, but it's the noise of Biollante, the plant monster, which was in the fourth Godzilla film, Godzilla vs. Biollante. Biollante looks like it does in the original film, but it's like it's more CGI and kind of been brought up to date, as it were. It's basically
What the fuck is that?
What you just looked it up? Yeah. Feel free to have a little look on Google. But
it's like a plant, but with a dinosaur skull.
Yeah. But it's way more like organic looking. It's way more planty, but you can still see like the almost face on it. But it's covered in like that. It's got a lot of that pearlescent stuff on it as well, and it looks like it's part of it, but it looks like this is kind of new, as it were. And Biolante's like sending out these vines and sending out these spores and shooting fire at like near Godzilla, and they have this fight. And you see this fight happen, and like there's been no dialogue thus far. You see this fight between Biolante and Godzilla, and but like Biolante, like Godzilla like goes to move away and like walk away from Biolante, and then Biolante like smacks him around the back of the head with like a massive sort of viney limb, and then Godzilla turns around, and it's like Biolante keeps provoking Godzilla. That's the essence, because what the 2014 Godzilla film was really good at doing is characterizing Godzilla, is giving Godzilla emotions, like that bit where he does that big sigh and he's really tired, and you really understood his how Godzilla was feeling, and I want that to carry on. That's quite important. So Godzilla kills Biolante, and then you see that happen, and you see that there have been helicopters circling around and planes and stuff. Maybe a plane went past with a firebomb, and you see it didn't really affect Biolante, or Biolante, I think it's Biolante. And you see it doesn't really affect them, like the fire bombs don't work. It just makes Godzilla angry, and Godzilla kind of swipes out. And so this scene goes from, you can see the top end of Biolante like being destroyed, and Godzilla's atomic flame is killing all the plant matter and stuff, and you see some of the spores like shrivel up and die. But then it's kind of you notice that it's a camera. Does that make sense? It's a camera on a screen, and then there's news reports, and they're going, hours ago, San Francisco was evacuated, but some are saying that people knew beforehand. What is this strange phenomenon? Blah blah blah. You see lots of screens and lots of different news reports. It's flashing between news reports. Some are saying that people got up and left their desks at work a couple of hours beforehand. There seemed to be no homeless people on the streets when people were trying to evacuate. It's crazy. And Godzilla arrived at the scene almost instantly. Like as soon as Biolante turned up, Godzilla was there. And they say that it originated in Italy. This Biolante just kind of appeared from somewhere in Italy and made a beeline for San Francisco, where the last attack happened in the film, in the Godzilla film where he fought the Muto, the MUTO. It was in San Francisco, and it made almost a beeline. And things were still being rebuilt in San Francisco in that area where Godzilla and the Muto had fought. So it's just like really strange behaviour, and you've got people who like claim they're like monster experts and like, this is not how an organism would act. It's almost like it wanted to die. We don't understand what happened. It was goading Godzilla. You can see in this behaviour, and the kind of, you've got shoutcasters that are like giving a play-by-play of the fight, and it's almost like watching an MMA fight. There's guys like, whoa, look, his tail there, he's got him in the killer hole, oh my, and they're like, you're getting the media's reaction from this. And then you get one person who's called Catherine Kinoma, and her name from the back, it's like, science buff Catherine Kinoma has got more on the issue, and she's like, there's something not right about some of these vines. The colours keep changing, and I don't understand why. And then it switches over again. and she says like, the colours, they're not of this what, and then it switches over again, and you've got like Fox News, and you've got like you've got anyway, so loads of media coverage. Then it moves away from that media coverage, and you can see the TV that it's on, and the TV is in a house. It's like a swanky wood cabin, but it's like a, do you know what I mean, like a holiday home, but not, when I say wood cabin, I don't mean wood cabin, I mean that little house on the prairie kind of home. Yeah, cool. Okay. So yeah, and Ellie, what's her fucking second name? Broad? Fuck, I've forgotten. I've forgotten Ford's second name from the Godzilla movie, but it's the two characters. It's the dude and his wife from
Aaron Taylor Johnson and...
No, I know that, but the name of their characters in the movie, it was like...
Yeah, no, I was just checking. I had the
Yeah.
ones you were thinking of, yeah.
But anyway, so... Yeah. They're in Minnesota. They moved away from San Francisco. Like, fuck this shit. My dad died. Like, Brian Cranston died. Spoilers. So, you know, they just after the events of the first one, they were just like, shit's crazy. Fuck monsters. Fuck being in the army. I'm gonna live off my veteran pension, and we're gonna, you know, we're gonna move out into the country. So she's watching, and she looks up, and she's going, wait, what? And she looks over and she sees like the footage of Godzilla again, and maybe she's feeding a baby or some shit, because then that, you know, gives it a sense of family and whatever. And then she goes forward, and she's running, like she runs away from the house. And you cut to our main character, Ford, whatever his name is. I wrote it down. It's probably going to pop up in some notes later, and I'm going to go, oh yeah, that's his name. But anyway,
is it Anglia?
No, it's not. Ford Capri. So he's cutting wood for the fire, you know, typical manly bullshit stuff. Maybe he's got fucking one of those big furry hats on, and she's like, Ford. He's like, Ellie, you know, what's up, babe, or whatever. That's the Ben Fee school of dialogue there. And
thank you.
And she's like, you know, we'll find a nice way. We'll find a non-cliche where her saying, "You're gonna want to see this," but you're gonna want to see this. So he comes in, and then his like jaw drops, and he's watching it. He's like, "No, not again." But he comments on it. He's like, wait, he's not hitting the buildings. He's not hitting the buildings. Look, he's trying to protect he's trying to protect humanity. And then she's like, oh, man was, you know, they were the city was evacuated, but they're saying some other people left before. And she's like wittering away and kind of going a bit crazy. And then the phone rings, and it's Project Monarch on the phone, which they're the guys that like originally did the atom test in 1953, and that's what woke Godzilla up in the first place. And they're like, you need to come with us. You're an expert. You've dealt with this firsthand. You've got first-hand experience about the spores. We think these spores are the same as the spores we found in the first film. We think these spores are the same. There could be another Muto incident. We don't know what's going on. We need your help. He's like, those days are behind me. You know, he refuses the call, puts the phone down. He's like, thanks, but no thanks. So like, oh, but we need you. And he hangs up. And then he talks to Ellie. And then it's kind of like forgotten about. They have like a nice dinner, and they discuss it, and they put the baby to bed, and then maybe they have a bit of a roll around in bed. It's like, oh, kissy, and, you know, cut to black. In the morning, Ford goes out. He goes to like make some cereal. Finds out they're out of milk, so he goes down to the local store. When he's coming out of the store with the milk, this like fucking crazy person grabs onto him, and they start shaking him, and then they're saying, Riley is coming. Ford, your name is Ford, and Ellie, you have a wife, Ellie, and like saying like really weird specific things. Your father, he died, your father. And then like Ford looks into this, he's like, back off, man, like, what the hell are you doing? And he looks into this dude's eyes, and this dude's eyes are doing the same thing that those weird vines were doing. They're like going black, and they're like pearlescent, and he's like, what the fuck? And he pushes this guy off, and he gets in his car, he races, and he goes and grabs the phone. He rings the number that called him, and he's speaking to Monarch, and he's like, all right, I'm in. What is going on? He mentions it to Ellie, and she's like, she doesn't know, she doesn't understand. And they're like, we're glad you could join us, Mr. fucking whatever, Smith. So he's going to be called Smith until I remember what his name is. People are going to be screaming at me, and we could just pause this and like Google it, but I'm not going to. So that, unless I've still got the film. Oh, hang on a minute. Brody. Ford Brody. That's his fucking name. Yeah, correct. Ugh. Is it Brody Ford or Ford Brody?
Ford Brody.
Yeah, okay.
It's a stupid name. It's fucking
so dumb. It's American
Who calls their kid Ford?
Yeah, American apple pie. But yeah, so they're like, we're glad you can acquiesce, Mr. Brody. A chopper's already on the way. And he's like, what? I don't understand. It's like, we knew you'd turn around. And then like, you know, typical shadowy government organisation shit. They know where he is in the middle of, oh, do you need my address? Of course we don't need your address, we've got your phone number. And then the chopper comes and they get into it, and she's got the baby and blah blah blah, and they're like, we'll look after the baby. She's like, well, no, crazy. And then they're off to fucking Monarch. So they get to their base, and then we've got exposition. You're seeing like some of the teammates. You see people from the film before. You'll see the Japanese guy who said, "Let them fight," and you, like loads of other like cameos of people who you didn't really care about in the 2014 film anyway, but they're there for the real diehard fans who are like, "Oh fucking no, from the first film, that's really good." And then maybe you get a couple of like old Japanese actors from like the older films, just as a little like nod. But anyway. I swear this is about Lovecraft. I swear. So anyway, Monarch have found where Godzilla goes when he leaves, and it's in a vast sea cave underneath, like it's an undersea cave in the Bermuda Triangle, and that's where he sleeps. And I think that's because this cave seems to be deeper than it goes down. Once you're in the cave, it goes down deeper than the Mariana Trench, and they seem to think that Godzilla replenishes his energy by sleeping close to the heat of the Earth's core, and that's how he replenishes his energy. And it's where like radiation is at the highest as well. And then they'll explain the radon thing with fridges. I don't know if you know that, but yeah, like there's a radon gas can come up through the floor in like American homes where things have been biodegrading, and it's a naturally released gas. But anyway, this radioactivity is there near this fucking massive trench that Godzilla kind of sleeps in, and that helps him. This is all theorized, and they're kind of talking about it. As they're kind of being introduced to the team, and they're walking, they're going to go and find their quarters. Ellie bumps into a woman walking across and drops the papers, that classic thing. It's Catherine Kimona, and she's like, you're the bio scientist off of TV, you're the biologist. She's like, yes, hi, I'm Catherine, I'm Catherine, hi, how's it going? You're Mr. Brody's wife, right? And she's like, yes, I am. And then they have a chat. And then
I'm defined by more than my husband.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And then they're having a conversation, and then she starts talking about how it isn't right. Something isn't right about these plants. And the guy, there's a guy kind of in the background. They start walking. And she's like, what do you mean something isn't right? She's like, I'll show you. Then it cuts to them like coming into like this dinky little back office in like the kind of the end of the corridor somewhere, like past the janitor's closet. And there's like X-Files posters and fucking like movie posters all on like one half, and then on the other half of it is like a small chemistry set and like samples and shit in bottles, you know, all that kind of the shit you kind of see in the Hunterian Museum. So like all like
the
weird
skull
shit,
of King Kong,
you know, and like a bit of some of the Muto, and I don't know, something that looks like King Ghidorah or something, like footage of King Ghidorah on a monitor somewhere. So she's kind of tracking, she's kind of tracking, man, like fucking fur from King Kong or something, just to tie it all together. But also there's this other stuff. There's like scales, and it says like Innsmouth. Blah blah blah, and it says like, you know, you've got all this other stuff, and you have all these little nods to Lovecraft going on in the background there, and this is like the Outcasts. They kind of study the fringe stuff that no one fucking cares about. And when I say Outcasts, we haven't met the other guy. Now originally, I wanted Seth Rogen to play this character, but the more I think about it, I'd like someone like Kamal Nanjiani or Aziz Ansari. So he was going to be called Ron Heathers, but I kind of like Ranjit Heathers, because I don't know why, and maybe this is typecasting, I don't know, but what this guy does is he's the cultural specialist, so it's his job to know everything about culture from all of time. So like he's a massive nerd. He's kind of the pop culture specialist, but also he's super intelligent about myths, legends, and cultural kind of what's the word I'm looking for? cultural trends throughout time.
So you just sort of decided, Mike, seeing as we're cutting the racism out of Lovecraft, you'd be the racist.
Is that? Am I being is that racist? Like, I'm really.
I don't think so.
What the reason
sound.
The reason I did it was actually the opposite of being racist, because I thought, you know, Catherine Kimona is going to be probably the chick that was in Pacific Rim. Or the chick who played Go-Go from Kill Bill.
Big hero.
So it is a Japanese character called Catherine Kimono.
Kimona, not kimono.
Right, sorry, I thought you would be just
weirdly
just
no.
lazy.
So in my mind, she's right. So what she represents, because a lot of this plot is going to hinge on her. And what she represents is this blending of the Japanese and American sensibilities in filmmaking, and the fact that, you know, Godzilla is a Japanese concept, but it got big in America, and this is an American film based on the Japanese contract. So she's like half American, half Japanese, hence Catherine Kimona. It's pretty ham-fisted. I know that, and I know it'd probably be done better. And I'd, you know, if I was actually the exec of this movie, I'd get a woman to write this character, and kind of help me out here. But yeah, that's my idea.
Please
fix it. I'm an idiot. Yeah,
I bad.
I don't think it's bad. Like, I think she's an allegory for the best of not the best of both. I'm digging myself a hole here, but so
this is actually so fine. I took an easy shot at you, and apparently broke
well, it's because I don't like. I'm trying. It's like I'm trying to make good choices, like casting wise, but I don't want to have a completely white cast except for the token Japanese characters that are from past Godzilla films. Do you know what I mean? And I like the idea of Catherine Kimona being this, like, she's half Japanese, she's half American. That would get said in the plot somehow, and she's the representation of both the fandoms coming together.
Yeah. I'd just make sure not to have the
phrase
best of both worlds. If
that's her
how
poster.
That's
a character poster. She's best of both worlds. Oh, Christ. Sorry to anyone listening.
Anyway, sorry,
but anyway, so you've got the cultural specialist, and then so she says, and this is some real science actually. She says that the sample of she took from what she saw, the samples don't seem to make sense. Like this pearlescent stuff doesn't seem to be made of the same stuff that that Biollante is made out of. It doesn't seem to have the same amount of chlorophyll. It doesn't seem to be genetically made up. And then she starts talking about spectrumology. And I don't know if any of you guys know about spectrumology, but putting it very, very quickly, if you break light into a spectrum, white light into a spectrum, so you've got the rainbow, if you look very carefully, there are actually gaps in the rainbow. Now, these gaps are protons passing through various atoms, and the gaps are the atoms that are sort of absorbing those protons. So what this means is, if you get light from any source, you're able to work out where it came from based on the atoms, the atom profile. So we know when we're seeing light from bounced off of Mars. If you look at light reflected from Mars and you can isolate that, you can see the atoms that are on Mars. So then you can understand what the what elements Mars is made out of. If you don't believe me, it's Neil deGrasse Tyson, Cosmos.
No.
And it's pretty cool. Like, it blew my mind when I found out about this. But the whole thing, spectrumology, you can do this with any light source. Like, we're not just talking about kind of light that we can see. You can do it with infrared light as well. So any light that's come from any star, if you isolate that light, you can work out what atoms are coming from that star. So you can work out you can kind of work out the address of where that place is. Oh, this place has got a whole bunch of carbon atoms. That's probably Alpha Centauri, or anyway. So she talks about that, and she says that the color spectrum, because there was a bit of one of these was splattered on the side of a helicopter when Biollante exploded from the atomic breath. So they managed to capture a piece of this thing, and it keeps trying to give out these spores even though it's dying. It's been contained, but she did some spectrumology on it, and it doesn't even seem to be from another planet on this solar system. The atoms are so strange and varied, and there's a lot of gaps in this spectrum. A lot of gaps. Anyway, they leave and they're like, okay, that's interesting. They go to their quarters. Then they're going for a briefing.
Thanks,
Sorry?
nerd. I just like to think Brody goes, thanks, nerd.
I was kick-ass once, don't you know? So anyway, they decide that they're going to send a team in to find out like exactly what's going on with Godzilla. Because they think they think Godzilla maybe called Biollante using like some frequency, you know, like because he's such a huge creature, he'd be able to make frequencies low enough, like how elephants here, they make really low frequencies, and like whales and stuff like that. It was able to seismically call it because he was hungry, he wanted to fight, and Ford saying like he wasn't fighting to eat, he was fighting to kill. He didn't want to kill that thing. It was provoking him. And they're like, no, you're wrong. And he's like, I've seen this thing fight. I know what... Are you kidding me? Hello? What the fuck? My fucking computer, just like the screen just turned off. I'm like, oh good, it's died again. Okay, sorry. We'll cut this bit out, anyone, if it's me, whoever. Ben, please listen to this if you're editing it. And cut it out.
It's all staying in.
Fuck's sake.
Just isolate this and loop it for an hour.
You'll say that it's the deep ones trying to stop us from revealing their secrets.
So anyway, they send a team in. They send a team in to go and like find out if Godzilla is communicating, and they get fucked up. We get another reminder of how enormously powerful Godzilla is, and why you shouldn't fuck with him, especially on his home turf, like in this trench, and that most of the team get killed, and like a couple of guys survive, and they get back and they're like licking their wounds, and Ford's like, I fucking warned you, like that's why I didn't come with you. You don't, you know, stop trying to like harm him. He's not doing anything wrong. Blah 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 blah. We're close to the end now. So Ford is talking to Catherine because he wants to try and understand what's going on with Biollante, because he's like, that wasn't acting like the Mutos that we've seen before. And she says, I think this vine came from somewhere else, but we're going to need a bigger sample. And then they're having this conversation, and Ron or Ranjit, whatever we're going to call him, whatever character he's going to be, the cultural specialist, just goes, sounds like some Cthulhu shit. And they're like, what? And I think, nothing. It just sounds like shit from another world. It's making people go crazy. You know, it just sounds like some Cthulhu shit. And then they're like, what do you mean Cthulhu shit? And then exposition, the Necronomicon. Sounds like the plants that were on Rylea. And then Ford's like, what do you mean Rylea? What's that? I've heard that. That's what they were saying to me. What? And you know, gets really aggressive, and he's like, Rylea, it's a city where fucking Cthulhu lives. He's like, what the hell is Cthulhu? And then he shows him a picture in the book, and the fucking, you know, because he's got.
And he said, you never read a fucking book, you jock.
Well, I mean, alright, he doesn't make him look in the book. They Google it, and he's like, you know, and you've got a really funny Google image search, so you've got like proper cool pictures of Cthulhu, but also you've got like My Little Cthulhu and fucking, you know, all the cutesy pictures of him as well, and it's like, this dude, and he's like, what, this dude? And it's like, no! And then they move it, and then it's, you know, it's the proper old picture of Cthulhu, and it's like, this guy, it's one of the deep ones, and then more, you know, more exposition. So they go to collect another sample, and San Francisco is still deserted, and they go in, and there's like a perimeter all around, and but there are like these people, they've all got the same eyes as before. They're holding like candlelit vigils for Biollante, and it's like they're all kind of hippie vegan-y types, and he's like, and the guards that, like the military police that are there holding off all the roads and keeping the barrier and the city contained, they're like, yeah, these freaks are something else. We don't know what their problem is. A couple of them keep trying to escape the barriers. I think a few of them get in when the shifts change. We don't know what they want in there. So anyway, people get in. The team goes in. They start getting their samples, and then they see a couple of the people that are all like around one of these spores. And Ford walks up to them, like they're in hazmat suits, not the people looking at the spores, but like the team are. And he goes to touch one. He's like, "Buddy, you okay?" And he turns around and he's like, "Ford, you are Ellie, and you're wondering what I am." And like they can like read minds, and they're all like saying it, and then they start speaking like as one, going, "Ford, yeah, you can read my mind. Riley is coming. Riley is coming. Riley is coming." Then they kind of make the noise. And their heads split open, and essentially, like this, whatever that colour thing, this amorphous shape comes out of all these people with wings, like leathery wings, and they start to fly upwards, and they all swarm and head in one direction, and the people that were holding the candlelit vigils do the same, and there's people across the city that are doing the same, and just this mass, this murmuration of like creepiness starts flying, and Ford's like, "I think I know where it's heading. If this is Biolante, then it's going to finish the job it started. It's going after Godzilla." So they race back to the lab. They give these samples to Catherine. She gets to work like fucking crazy. Ron or Ranjit has been reading the Necronomicon, and he says, "Yeah, I've read the Necronomicon. Well, I've listened to the audiobook," and like that's a little joke of like, the
Banter.
21st century. It's like Christopher Lee did some of the stories. It sounds awesome. And they work it out that like these plants are from another. They're not from the solar system. They might not even be of this universe. They could be of somewhere completely different, and it's not the same as Biolante. Whereas Biolante is like born of radiation and somewhere sort of under the Earth's crust. This is born from something they don't understand. So they get in the helicopter, they get suited up, and there's loads of army dudes, and they all get in these fucking multiple helicopters. They all got the Monarch logo on, and they zoom off over to the Bermuda Triangle, and you see from the view of the helicopter, you're in there, and the helicopter's traveling, and it's kind of shaking, and then things start hitting the helicopters, and it's like the bodies of these things that are kind of like flying, but they don't care. Like they've just got single purpose. It's essentially like bugs, like giant bugs, and the helicopter's like having, "Whoa, fuck!"
Yeah.
And they're like pulling up, and then they get above all these bodies and all these people, and then you see them. They've converged at like this one point, and then once the last couple of stragglers have turned up, and the helicopters are just sitting there, like, do we fire on them? It's like, well, no, we need to see what they're doing. Godzilla, and anyway, if things get hairy, you know Big G's going to sort it out. Ha 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 ha. Suddenly they all stop flapping their wings, and they just fall into the ocean en masse. So like thousands of bodies of these creatures, these like pearlescent grey, black, purple creatures, are falling like massive droplets, and they fall to the ocean, and you see these bodies just continually keep sinking, and they sink and they sink and they sink, and they get to the bottom. They go past the opening to Godzilla's cave thing, and they get to the bottom of the ocean, and they start to like dissolve and dissipate, and they become like this acid, and this acid is like alien blood. It like fucking starts just sinking the ground until something starts to open. This kind of weird hole starts to open, and some kind of rift opens. Then we pan to Godzilla asleep, kind of a massive, like, looking up looking down at him from above, and you see one eye open, and then his spines one by one start to light up, and then he lets out like this underwater like roar fucking noise, and immediately starts like heading up past the camera. Then we see from outside, you've got the helicopters, and you've got people surrounded. Like, what is going on? We don't understand. There's been massive seismic activity. It looks like there's going to be a tsunami. And blah 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 blah. And it's going crazy, and the controls are going crazy. Like, it's just the Bermuda Triangle. This always happens. And then slowly out of the water rises Cthulhu in all his crazy, winged, tentacly joy. And it starts laying into these army helicopters that are getting too close. But what they notice is that one of them goes past to get a better look at it, and he looks directly into the eyes, and he goes mad, like instantly goes mad, and like kills himself. And then that helicopter just crashes into Cthulhu, and then it crashes into him. It causes Cthulhu like a little bit of pain. And Cthulhu's like visibly like pissed off, and he starts he like stretches out his wings like a butterfly would when it's just been born, and it kind of gets rid of all the viscera that's on it, and it begins to start flapping, and this is pushing the helicopters away, like this massive amount of air, and it's pushing the water, and Cthulhu very slowly starts to take off, and he gets about 3 flaps into the air, when from the water a claw grabs the bottom of his foot and pulls him back into the water, and nothing happens after that for like a good 10 seconds, and then both of them burst out of the water, and it's Godzilla and Cthulhu, and they're fighting tooth and nail, and Godzilla is going fucking ballistic. It's a massive fight. Then Catherine is on like the comms, and she's talking to Ford. She was like, you were right. Biollante didn't want to fight. Biollante wanted to die. And then she's like explaining a type of fungus that makes ants want to kill themselves when it takes over, because it wants the fungus wants to spread its spores. She's like, it's the spores of wherever this Rylea place. That's what made everyone go crazy. That's what's made these things hatch. It's all to do with Rylea. And Ron's like, or Ranji, whoever, is like, this is like the shit out of these fucking books, man. This is crazy. This is madness. That's fucking Cthulhu, dude. Like going mental. And you realise that Biollante had been calling out to Godzilla, and was trying to get Godzilla to kill it, and Godzilla didn't want to kill it because it's one of his kind. And although he's an apex predator, you kind of learn, if you know your Godzilla lore, that Godzilla kind of doesn't want to be alone, so he doesn't want to try and kill these monsters. He only ever tries to kill them when they attack him, or sometimes when it attacks the Earth. Blah blah blah. It keeps fighting Cthulhu, and it looks like Cthulhu's going to win, and then Godzilla gets the better of him, and he uses like a double atomic blast. So Godzilla's got like 3 sets of spines. And normally only the middle set light up when he does the atomic blast. You see that in the movies, but in this one, like all 3 of them, and the blast changes color, and his eyes glow, and it's like fucking like a Power Ranger super weapon. It goes fucking crazy, and he's just with this power, he's just swimming down and forcing Cthulhu back through the hole, and Cthulhu's like trying to grab hold, and you can see the world that he's part of, and it looks like nothing like the world that you would know. It's sort of like in Doctor Strange, where the universe that fucking whatever the Dormammu lives in is completely different. It's like that, and Godzilla's trying to hold on, and he's clawing, but the power of this blast is like pushing him back, and then Godzilla makes a different kind of breath attack once Cthulhu's been kind of pushed into this gravityless void, and he freezes over the hole. Then he rears back up, and he goes off in like search of something. He walks over to like the top of his cave, and they're like, what's going on? And Godzilla wrenches the top of this cave up into the air, and they're like, he's gonna like throw this at us. And he turns towards the helicopters, and then like kind of walks past, goes to where like he's frozen this void hole and slams this piece of cave down as a sort of giant cork, and then with his breath he like welds it to like the rest of the land so that it's like molten, and there's all this steam rising up everywhere, and it's like fucking crazy. Everyone starts to celebrate. They're like, "Oh, Godzilla's got it in him. This is crazy. This is amazing. Oh, wow!" And like they start straying too far, and Godzilla's like standing in the middle, and like hasn't really moved or done anything. But you can see he's like visibly upset. And they come in and they're like, "Send us in closer. I want to get a picture." And Godzilla like loses it. And he tail whips this helicopter out of the sky, and they're like, "What the fuck?" And Godzilla starts going mental, like sending blasts. Now Godzilla isn't chasing down these helicopters, he's just like back off sort of thing. And the lesson learned is that, you know, Godzilla might be kind of trying to protect the world, but he doesn't give a fuck about humanity. He's just trying to protect the world. And then you've got like end credits. Ranjit tries to hook up with Catherine. You know, they're all doing the classic American let's all clap and fucking whoop, and Catherine's having none of it. She's into girls or whatever. You know, that would be a cool reveal. That'll make Tumblr happy. And then that's kind of it. And then I guess in a post-credit sequence you could either tease Cthulhu teaming up with the Yellow King, or a Shoggoth, or a legion of Shoggoths, or something cooler than that. But yeah, that's my Lovecraft movie that I swear is a Lovecraft movie.
I think the end tease shows King Kong being recruited by Shoggoth. And it's a parody of the Justice League tease, where it's Shoggoth going, "Seems like we could do with a team of our own."
It makes a lot of sense, that pitch, because I always thought that Cloverfield should have been a Lovecraft film.
Man.
That I think they missed a trick there by making it some just generic sea monster. That should have been straight up Lovecraft.
Yeah, I agree.
I would like, it would be silly, and you couldn't get away with it because of the rights, but during the whole bit with, you know, you're sort of glimpsing into the other dimension, you should actually see Dormammu.
What obscure thing to see? No one even, like, what the fuck was that?
In a blink and you'll miss it where you go, "Oh my god, Cthulhu is Marvel canon."
And then Nathan Drake calls up.
Doctor Strange rides Godzilla in the sequel.
Nice.
Alright, actually, gotta say, first of all, considering how much you sort of tried to downplay it, Mike, that I really liked your take.
Thank you.
Like, I think it needs a bit of trimming. Like, it sort of meandered a bit around the middle, where I sort of felt like we were mostly having things explained to us or hearing about things rather than things necessarily actually happening.
I wasn't very show don't tell, but I think that's because there's a lot of that. There's a lot of that in Godzilla movies where the humans are explaining.
Yeah, and there's a lot of weird stuff which you're trying to make possible to.
And I'm thinking, like, the moviegoer isn't gonna know a lot of Lovecraft. If you watch a lot of, I've watched a lot of like Lovecraft inspired films, because there's a lot of very good independent films that are Lovecraft inspired, and nearly all of them fall into the same trap. They're all like, here's all the exposition.
Yeah, it's a strange. I mean, considering how talky he could be himself, it's a trick. Yeah, I don't know quite how you'd do it, but I think it would benefit from a bit of like tightening up around the middle. But I like the beginning was very Godzilla-y, and like, you know, obviously was weird, but wasn't. Aside from the fact that obviously we knew what we were going into, just seeing that, you wouldn't necessarily know how it was going to end.
And that's why I think I really like the title Eldritch Tides, because they're going to be like, what the fuck's that? And like, it's literally referring to the tide. It's referring to the tides turning. It's referring to, you know, the eldritch kind of horror of it all.
Yeah. And of course, the image of Cthulhu fighting Godzilla is just great. It's ridiculous, but it's great.
It is.
I will say, more broadly, Ben, I think yours is actually it's a more natural fit for the mythos. Like, it's in terms of the fact of a lot of the way we actually now read his stories is in these collections. You know, it's like Tales of Weird Horror or something was the name of the collection I had. But that sort of Twilight Zone-y, I think those sort of anthology horror adaptations are a bit, like, I know they're rebooting the Twilight Zone now, but I think they are actually something which is kind of missing a bit from TV. Is a lot of the anthology stuff that does exist is things like American Horror Story, and it's just a bit sort of like, ugh, versus actually just sort of smart, short storytelling where it you know, it's basically, you know, the televised version of a short story collection. I would love to see what you could get with that, because I bet you could get some really high profile people around that and go like, we're going to get a bunch of great creators and we're going to give you free reign to say, here's the stories we're looking to adapt this season. You know, you get the True Detective guy, Cary Fukunaga.
Shit.
That's his name.
Yeah.
Like, you go, Cary, we think this would be great for you. I can't now think of any other directors that I'd get involved in this. But, you know, like, you get a bunch of directors and go, we think this would be great for you. Would you be interested? Now just go and do what you want with it. You know, run it like it's a mid-budget film. Yeah, I can't think of any. I've now only got like people behind True Detective in my head, but I think Guillermo del Toro, obviously.
Taika Waititi.
That would be an interesting one with Chris Hemsworth.
He'd be down for it. Yeah, and Jermaine Clement.
He probably would. You should have Del Toro would have to do the finale though.
Yeah,
he'd
be down for it. He'd be up for that.
Yeah, I mean, he's been trying to make Mountains of Madness for years. Yeah, honestly, like, both of these, despite being wildly different interpretations, Mike, are things I would really like to see. However, picking a winner, I am actually gonna go with Mike.
What?
Wow.
No way!
Because while I think your premise is stronger, Ben, in terms of, like, it is the most natural fit for his stories, the things you could do with it are amazing. In terms of as a pitch, you pitched me a premise more than you pitched me actual, which is obviously because it's hard to go like, I'm now going to pitch you 12 individual episodes.
I did that with an anime and I got fucking shot the shit down.
Well, it was shit, so there you go.
Oh my god!
Mike, you didn't have either Link or Zelda in your fucking show. Eat shit. No, you
the
didn't.
whole fucking
Not
story
really.
is about reincarnation, Callum.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean I don't. Look, I don't like Naruto, but I know that I'm even less interested in fucking Boruto.
Okay, I gotta go. So let's see where this goes.
See you.
Shit to do.
I've been crushed, and now I wish to leave and weep.
I'm embarrassed.
So this is what happens when Ben loses. This is quite interesting.
Yeah, I would say that I think yeah, constraints of the pitching are tricky, because obviously it is hard to pitch 12 episodes of a show that would be to the same depth and breadth as pitching one film. But while I'd love to see your premise fully fleshed out, I also do want to see Godzilla fight Cthulhu, and provided we can cut out some of Mike's racism from that, I think we've got a hit on our hands.
And I also
before
like
Sorry.
Sorry, go on.
Before we leave, like, I really hope that people understand that I was genuinely trying not to, and if anyone listening is genuinely offended, I do apologise. Like I was desperately trying. I'm trying to do the right thing, but I am a fucking straight white dude. So if I hand-fisted
tweet
that
at _dark_Mike and just tell him how offended you are.
Please, like, call me out. I was trying to do the right thing, and if I'm wrong and if there's a better way I could have done it, please enlighten me. I'm always ready to learn about shit like that, because I feel like I've, as someone with let's get a bit deep for a second, but as someone, inherently with a societal privilege, there's probably things I do like that I think, oh well, that's fine. I'm trying to cater and help, but maybe I'm not helping. I'm trying to be a good ally. Yeah. Please teach me how to be better. Thank you. Love you. Bye.
And even if he didn't actually get it wrong, just tell him he did for shits and giggles.
Oh yeah, tear him a new one just for nothing.
Do it for me.
You guys are assholes.
All right. Thank you very much to my two pitches today.
I was going to roll for next week.
Oh shit! Yeah.
Oh, that
right.
is
Hang
a
on.
thing we do.
God damn it! Come on,
I
guys.
had the fucking list open and everything, and then my computer
Just
crashed.
I'll be honest. I've been convinced we've hit the finale for like the last month.
What episode are we even on?
12. I've no idea.
5,
This is
6.
Yeah.
No, wait. It depends. We count full episodes or.
Well, we're ignoring the extras.
Well, let's send it out to the listeners.
I think this
if you know
is
what episode this is,
5.
please just send us an email and let us know which episode it is.
No, because we'll know by now, because it will be out. We know that. For fuck's sake. Right, hang on.
I'll put it in later on. This is episode 4. And then...
I think it's 6. I think it's 6, guys.
Oh, you guys did the Super Smash Bros. Anime, didn't you?
Yeah, that was episode 2.
Right, okay, cool. But you did that on your own. That's not a problem. Yeah. Okay, I think I've... Right, okay, let's do it. I'm going to roll. 12. Oh, shit. A free reign Marvel movie. No constraints from conflicting licenses.
Yeah.
I would fucking love that.
Who wants it? Well, hang on. Is there anyone who's been on like every episode?
I feel as though I might have done a lot, but I would love to do that.
I feel me and Ben have been most on it. I mean, if Ben really wants to do it, I'm happy to either host it or...
No, you hosted last time. I don't mind hosting. It's fine. I'm more of a DC guy than I'm Marvel anyway, so that's fine. That's fine. All right, yeah, cool. All right, so next week we are going to do a free reign Marvel movie.
And until then, I've been Callum Tyndall.
I've been Mike Orvis.
And I haven't been Mike Orvis.
Correct.
That is also accurate. Thank you very much for listening, and we hope you'll have it in your hearts to come back next time.
Keep watching movies. I think that's what we say.
Later, bitches.
Bye-bye.
Hello, it's the resident beard, Mr. Mike Orvis here. If you liked what you heard or didn't like what you heard, then please let us know on our various Twitters or at GeekPride1 on Twitter. Or if you want to send us an email, then you can at content@geek-pride.co.uk. If you could do that, that would be wonderful. Or you can rate and review us on iTunes, because that's the thing that you can do. And it means that more people will be able to see us. If you are going to email us, though, make sure that you put pitch please in the subject heading so that we can try and stop Matt Geary from, I don't know, doing something nefarious. I'm recording this at 7 in the morning. I don't know what I'm doing. I need an adult or a hand job. Something, please.